welcome to our Tuesday, May 13th Facility Committee meeting. We're running a little behind. I apologize. We had a long curriculum meeting, but welcome, and I'm going to turn it right over to Mr. Morris.
Thank you. Good evening. I don't have any administrative remarks this evening.
Do we have any public comment? Review of minutes. Everything look okay?
Yep.
Great. We'll move to the first agenda item, 4.01, ratification of contract for Wayne Elementary.
Thank you. Just give me a minute to cue.
Excuse me, sorry. We just want to welcome, Ms. Solomon is attending virtually with us, so she is here. So, sorry, Lydia. So, hello. Okay, so 401, ratification of contract for Wayne Elementary.
Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. We're navigating some screen sharing and online. So just real quick, so on the agenda, we have a ratification of a contract with 101 Mobility. And this is a sales contract for the installation of a new vertical incline lift at Wayne Elementary School. So everyone's familiar with elevators, multi-person to get us between floors for those who need it. This incline lift is actually a single use that goes in conjunction with a set of steps in order to get people who need the mobility between floors. And it's located between the first grade and third grade wings, first and second floor of Wayne Elementary School. We currently have a lift, vertical incline lift there. It recently stopped working. We had service come out and take a look at it, and parts were no longer available. So we did some research. This is a limited specialty item. So we did some research. We reached out to a couple companies. Some were able to provide, some were not. And 101 Mobility was able to give us the best contract for replacement. So it is a turnkey project that encompasses everything, including permits to final acceptance, inspection, certification of operation from the PA Department of Elevator Division. So it's kind of intricate with regards to township permitting with the state, certifications, testing, and everything else that goes through there. But it does include the manufacturing of the incline lift, the installation, the electrical, architectural drawings, and all of the permitting with the state. So 100% turnkey. You'll notice on the contract that there are no permit fees for L&I for either the permit or the inspection. So just a little history. Years ago, the state Department of L&I, both their elevator and their boiler division, granted inspection and permitting to all K through 12s at zero cost. So we're able to obtain those services at zero cost. So in the contract, you'll see that there's zero cost for that. So again, this was kind of an emergency to get going. So we did contract with them, give them a purchase order, and it is in manufacturing right now. So any questions?
Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to 402, approval of the bids for early demolition project. Welcome.
Okay, so I think I got my share screen there for Lydia. Hopefully she can see I have the bid tab results up. So as we presented previously, the board authorized us to go out and solicit for public bid some aspects of the Ithan project, which included demolition of the annex, along with the installation of a temporary playground. We previously last month had a presentation about that project. We did solicit bids. We had 4 people or for contractors who had plan holders, which means they went onto the site, which they could get the plans and prints for the project. They did attend the non-mandatory pre-bid meeting. However, on bid day, only two of those four actually handed in bids. And they were Geppert Brothers and Manafort Brothers. So tonight, to kind of go over that project again real briefly, and to go over the bid results, we have representatives from Breslin Architecture, Steve Behrens, as well as Walt Tack from Site Logic Construction Management. So I'm going to queue up a different presentation here real quick.
Okay. So as Ken mentioned, we received bids for the early demolition contract, demolish the annex building, the two houses, put in the temporary playground. Manafort submitted the parent low bid. We've reviewed their bid. Everything seems to be in order. We've done a little checking. They are actually a large utility and demolition contractor out of Connecticut. They do everything from building sewage treatment plants, demolishing bridges, decommissioning nuclear power plants. They're a large organization, are very well known in the New England area, have a very good reputation. And they have an office here in the Philadelphia area. Can't recall where exactly.
I believe it's Bristol.
Bristol, okay.
Sorry.
But seem to be checking out very well, so we're recommending award to them. And their bid came in within a very close margin of our estimated cost, so we were pleased with that as well.
So just review, we did budget $529,300 for this project. The bids came in, the base bid came in at $538,000, so roughly around 87, if my math is right.
Right.
I had $8,700, a little over. There was one alternate, which was repaving, if you're familiar with Roberts Road, part of that driveway is paved. Because of the equipment that'll be running on it, we do see the need to do something there. And so we had two options. Base bid was to repave it and keep it in its entirety and the integrity to which it is today, or to take that asphalt out and put in compacted millings, which is ground up asphalt, right? Like it's not as good as asphalt, but it's better than stone, right? But because of the incline and the need to really, we saw value in that. And the alternate was only a $15,000 deduct. So tonight, we're not recommending that we take the alternate, that we do the base bid in its entirety for $538. So.
Any questions? Lydia, any questions? Good. I hope this is a sign of things to come with future bids.
We hope so.
Yeah. Moving on to, sorry, where's my agenda? We're moving on to 4.03, update on building the new ITHN.
Thank you. Again, Steve Behrens and Walt Tack will be doing the presentation tonight on an update for ITHN Elementary School, as well as giving an update on our most recent township meeting last night in front of the Board of Commissioners. So, hand it over to you guys.
Okay, so as you may recall, when we were here last month, we were discussing requesting board approval to release for bid in early June.
June 10th.
June 10th, yes. We're still holding to that date. The meeting last night with the with the borough or the Township Board of Commissioners went well as could be expected. We're anticipating getting their approval for the project at is it next week? Next week, yeah.
Next Monday night.
Next Monday night.
May 19th.
So that will clear that hurdle. The remaining hurdles that we need to clear as you may recall, are the NPDES permit, which is Stormwater Management Erosion Control through the Conservation District, and the Sewage Planning Module. Both of those have been submitted. We've received technical review comments on the NPDES application, and administrative comments. We've addressed those. It's in for technical review now. We're expecting those comments in, first round of comments back from them in early June, prior to the board meeting when we're going to request approval to release for bid. That will give us a very good barometer as to where that approval process is going to go. But the plan is that we should have the first round of comments before board approves. We should have the second round of comments, which should be the last set of comments, before we receive bids. So we should have any technical issues ironed out before we receive bids. And then we will anticipate there'll be hold on the actual approval of that until Department of Environmental Protection issues our sewage planning module, which will be in the process, and we are projecting to have that in, I believe it's August, yeah. So there's still a few hurdles we have to clear. We feel pretty good about the process where we are. The good thing is we do have a couple of opportunities to just check in again, make sure we're still progressing as we planned, and that we don't need to delay it any further. We'd like to continue to move the project forward if at all possible, to give the project the best chance of completing on time. Yeah.
In terms of sequencing, is it normal to go out to bid before you have these other remaining approvals?
That is not, uncommon anymore. The approval process has just gotten so complex that it's very difficult to have the luxury of waiting till all your approvals. You have all your approvals before you go out to bid. You want to at least be in a position where you're expecting them, you know they're imminent, and you're in pretty good shape with it, and that's where we anticipate being. Like I said, the nice thing is we will have our first round of comments before the board approves. So if, for whatever reason, we determine that the magnitude of the comments is such that, we don't anticipate getting approval in time, we may reassess and push the date back. But we would prefer not to do that at this time. We'd prefer to continue to move ahead with our plan. Like I said, to have the best chance of completing this project on time and getting students in the school in time for the start of classes in fall of 27. So here's a brief update. We talked about the demolition bidding. We received those bids. We're anticipating requesting that the board approve the award of those contracts at the May 27th meeting, and we'll begin demolition of those structures and putting in the playground the 1st of June. We will ask for board approval to release for bids at the June 10th meeting. That project will go out to bid in June, receive bids in July, and we would anticipate being back to the board, to the facilities committee in August, and then to the board in August for approval of award of contracts. We did put together an alternative plan if in the event that things do not go as anticipated with the planning commission, because you always have to be prepared for that. It's difficult to predict what's going to come out of the planning commission for approvals, but we believe we can still hit our target dates of starting construction, getting it completed on time, although admittedly it will be tight, but we think we can still make it happen, and we would suggest continuing on with the project as planned, just push back the bid date by a month. Cost estimate, I think we've been through this a number of times, but we have not updated that from the last discussion. We are still tracking an overall estimated cost of right around $77 million. with all the alternates that were under consideration. Any questions on costs? We've been through that a number of times.
And just for clarity, this early demolition, the 538, is part of that 77. It's not, the 538 is not in addition to.
Right.
So.
Again, this is the comparison slide between our previous estimate and current estimate. I'm not going to, unless you want me to, I'm not going to bore you with the details. We've been through that a few times. And then for the building cost, and then alternates. We've been through the numbers. We can talk about these individually. The first option is to change the terrazzo flooring in the gym cafeteria corridor and the main lobby to a high-impact resilient tile. The next one is to change the epoxy terrazzo in the classroom wings of the building to the same material. There's another option to change the cafeteria from terrazzo to the resilient tile flooring. There's an option to change the classroom flooring from the resilient high-density resilient flooring to vinyl composition tile, your basic 12 by 12 tile like you have here. That's going to be, obviously any of these are a downgrade in quality, have shorter lifespans, higher maintenance associated with them. The next one is to reduce the corridor wall tile from 8 foot to 5 foot. We have rendering on that. That is not recommended by this group leadership. Change the wall tile in the wet walls of the small toilet room to just the wet walls in the small toilet rooms to 4 foot high. That was that was incorporated into the estimate. And then changing the wood ceilings in the atriums to acoustic tile ceilings, and that was not recommended at this time. On the exterior, there was much discussion. Oh, okay, this is on the roofing, going from a modified or an asphalt roof to a thermoplastic olefin or TPO roof. Savings on that. A option to change the, I'm sorry, the first one was to change the metal roof at the multi-purpose room to thermoplastic olefin. The second one is to change the flat roof from a asphalt roof to a thermoplastic olefin membrane. Third one was to change the limestone window sills to a precast concrete. Fourth was incorporated was to change the composite metal panels to cement board panels on the exterior of the building. And then the last one was not recommended again, was to eliminate the exterior sunshades. You may recall a rendering that Steve had shared with you at the last meeting on that.
So, just a reminder, none of these alternates have changed since the last presentation last month. The ones that are in purple that say alternate are the things that we've already discussed previously during the value engineering phase of this project. They were presented to the board, and when we authorized to go to construction documents, that was a list that was approved. So the red are things that administration is not, and then we were tasked with trying to find some more cost savings within the project. So we did come up with the list that we reviewed. The things that are in red are things that administration is not recommending that we do, but we realize they are cost savings. The things in blue are the ones that we are recommending that when we go out to bid, would then basically turn to purple or an alternate. So they would be on the bid form for the contractors to give us alternate pricing on, so that we could decide later if we wanted to put them back into the building. So the goal here is just to basically turn those things that are in blue to purple on June 10th for approval, and then go out to bid, so.
Is that clear to everyone? Okay. And the only question I have right now, on the terms of the TPO roofing, is that, what about lifespan?
So I can answer that. So as far as lifespan, so original design did have metal roof over the multipurpose room or the gym. That is probably, the metal roof is about a 50-year roof before we have to restore it. So we talked about restore versus replacement. So the TPO will be about 20 to 25 years, depending on what warranty we get with it, before we look at restoration. But both of those roofs, the TPO, while it's not as good as the Alpha Guard, which is number 9, so the Alpha Guard system is what we're currently putting on at the high school. Not quite as good, it's a lower cost, but the TPO does have the ability to be restored. So we don't have to rip it off, and so we can, at a later date, we can then put the Alpha Guard system on top of the PTO to extend for another 20-year warranty as well, right? So it's moving up that restoration from approximately maybe 50 years to 20, 25 years. Same thing with now the Alpha Guard, and the Alpha Guard 2 PTO has about the same lifespan before restoration. So
Both about the 20-year you're saying.
about 20, 25 year, yeah, before we have to look at restoring. But no matter what option we go here, we have a restorable roof as if it's maintained.
Okay.
Want to keep going?
Did you want to skip that? Okay, there we go. And then there were some mechanical, electrical, plumbing items. One was change the feeders to the electric panel boards from copper to aluminum. This is not an uncommon thing to do. Copper's typically preferred by a lot of engineers. Requires a little less maintenance. Aluminum has become much more reliable for feeders over the years, and the techniques used for it, though. And then the other is changing the bus bars, which are if you ever looked inside an electric panel, there's bars where the circuit breakers plug into it. Change that from copper to aluminum, and that would again save a reasonable amount of money and should have a good life expectancy. There were a few items that we looked at for site work. First was to eliminate the paved walking paths at the rear of the site. That was an option we wanted to consider. An option to change the concrete retaining wall at the loading dock to a segmental block, which are just the dry stack block. Those can be designed to withstand the loads and the height of that. There's an option to change the soft play field from sod to hydro seed. Basically what that means is you don't get on the field for a year instead of being able to get on it immediately. And then the final one was not recommended, was salvaging some of the existing light poles along the driveway and eliminating 20 new light poles. The issue was that the lights would not match. You'd have a mismatched lighting on it. The current spacing of the light poles is not the same as what's proposed. You would actually have a little less light along the road too if we retained them. So for those reasons, that was not being recommended. Okay, Steve, do we want to go through these?
Sure, happy to. So we've included some renderings, which again will look familiar. This is a comparison between what is the base bid of wall tile up to 8 feet in the corridors. That's typical throughout the facility. So that it creates a nice clean, two things. Aesthetically, it creates a nice clean line down the corridor. Functionally, it puts the drywall out of reach. The paintable surface is out of reach. And so the next slide, I believe, would show that the alternate that is not recommended, which is to reduce that to about 5 feet, which not only creates another aesthetic line that we weren't looking to create down the hall, but it also then puts drywall within reach that, again, from a life cycle cost, as we were talking about a moment ago, yes, there's a first cost increase in the bids to install that tile, but once you've painted that wall a few times over the life of the building, you've paid for that tile. So we like to keep those self-finishing durable materials in those areas of high touch and traffic that would just cause maintenance costs down the road. Another view, just from a slightly different angle. This is the lower level of the lobby. And then again, that 5-foot line reintroduced that sort of creates that castellated look with the doors and the windows that that isn't appealing. So this is the acoustic ceiling tile. So here we're identifying in plan the 3 lobby areas or 3 areas where there's a double height space that you look out into the landscape through. So the ceiling of each of those, it being a special space in the base bid, is a wood ceiling material. And the next one shows the view of that. So it warms up the space considerably. We looked at this before as well. That's looking out across that through the windows. There is the look with just a standard 2x4 lay-in ceiling. So again, not recommended to make that change. But the reason we're presenting all these things is so that on when the bids are received, if we're forced to look hard at some of these decisions, you have some information in advance as to what you'd ultimately be deciding on. And this is just a side-by-side look of the wood versus the regular acoustic tile. And by the way, if you desire, I have a box for show and tell where you can see these materials and touch and feel them, so you can have a better understanding of what they look like. Exterior view here showing the south elevation of the building. That's the administration wing, the classrooms, all the way down to the wellness room, with the sunshades, which have not only an aesthetic, once again, but also a performance aspect where they're reducing the glare and the solar heat gain on the windows. So this is just now the view of what it would look like without them. Seems like a simple device, but it really does have an aesthetic effect as well. And again, not recommended. The multi-purpose room, we've had conversations over the past few months about the window on the corner, looked at several options from the exterior as well as the interior. So we have, and the instruction was to look at this more carefully and provide an option to just be included in the base bid rather than developing options and alternates for this. So this was the original design with the what we call the floor-to-ceiling glass, and then and on the outside it would have been transparent glazing as well. This is what we're calling the modified base bid, so there's still not an alternate associated with this, but we have addressed the concerns of the board and the administration with respect to the design. So on the exterior here, you'll see it still has the glass look, but you can begin to see that there's a difference a subtle difference there with a non-transparent, so it's not vision glass, it would be a spandrel, so a colored glass from that 8-foot line on down, but yet maintaining the transparent glazing above. That's the exterior view. So it looks very much like it always did on the outside, that feature that we wanted to maintain. And then if we look at the inside, we carried that durable interior finish of the ground face block across that corner, but then maintained the glass above that line. So you still get an effect where you're seeing out that corner in a way that's different from the other clear stories. You can see the foliage, the trees outside, and still maintains a lot of that transparency we were trying to achieve, but improves the durability on the interior. And then that would then just be, again, backing up that glass. So the glass is still sort of carrying down in front of it, but you don't see that glass from the inside. So
Can I ask you, would there ever be a time of day where you'd see the wall from the outside? Or is the frosted glass
you would not
totally opaque?
Well, it's not frosted. If it were translucent glazing, yes, under certain lighting conditions, you would actually see shadows through it, if you've ever seen that effect. So no, this will be spandrel glass. So it'll actually be painted on the inside. And we're looking at the coloration there. We're studying that because what we're trying to yield is an effect where during the day, it would look very much like the rest of the glass. So if you think about it, during the day, when there's more intense sunlight outside and less in artificial lighting on the inside, you don't really get the effect that's depicted here. You get really the glass looks dark or even black. You really can't see in. So during the daytime, that glass would look very similar to the vision glass. At night, when the interior is illuminated brighter than the exterior, that's when you would see that dark band of glass on the bottom and then the illuminated sort of the glow of the outside. So it's still an interesting effect. Again, you would perceive that there's a difference at the corner where that transparent glazing dips down. So it's just a little bit of a compromise to address that interior durability that was a concern to some. So.
That's not something you have in your bag of tricks over there now. Is there a way to see that material, what it would look like?
The spandrel glass?
Yes.
Actually, sorry, that's one thing I didn't bring, but it's, we can definitely have that ready for you at a future meeting. It's really a glass panel that paint is applied to the inside. And we're not talking about brush strokes. You know, it's actually a factory applied, fully opaque paint on the inside. But there's a range of colors. It can be a lighter color that's depicted here, that or a darker color that then, as I said, tends to blend with the regular glass during the day when the glass appears darker. So we're looking at those options.
I don't know if I'm speaking for it, but I would love to see what that looks like, because I
Sure.
think there's been some concern expressed on, just questions about what that would look like, and I think it would be helpful. to
Okay, sure, we
see that.
can bring that in the future.
Any other questions here? Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you addressing the safety issue, because that was the first priority.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was the functionality. So this glass, does it butt up up against the wall? Like, does it, like,
Yes,
that how it
it's
works?
close, right. So
So-
there wouldn't be a cavity there, that it would be capped off with a sill at the top. So
Okay.
there's no possibility of sort of accessing that slot in between.
okay,
There would be probably whatever the depth of the aluminum framing is between the glass and the concrete block. They wouldn't be touching each other, if that's what you're thinking.
Well, I guess I'm thinking about what the cost will be to maintain this area. If there are leaks, if there are broken glasses, if the glass breaks, how does that work?
Well,
Because
the
you
glass would
can't
be
access it
replaced,
from-
no, right.
Right, you can't access.
If there were to be a break in the glass, it would be replaced from the outside. So that's how it's typically done on low-rise buildings like this, 1-, 2-, 3-story buildings. The window systems are glazed from the outside.
And this is just personal preference, because I think in the past, in one of the meetings, we had seen where the stone carried all the way across, both halfway and all the way up to the top. I personally think that it's fine all the way up to the top, and that's just personal preference. Everybody has their own. But is it durable? Is it more durable if it's stone, just even where the painted glass is? Would that be more durable?
Certainly. I mean, stone is more durable than glass.
Glass.
But again, there's around the entirety of the building, there's lots and lots of glass down to grade. So there's a planting bed here. It's not an area, I'd say it's probably even less at risk of having a stone thrown at it from a lawnmower or something than the windows on the rear of the building. So, no, I don't have a concern about this being particularly vulnerable to any more than any other glass around the building.
Okay, so just
So-
aesthetics?
Yeah, the driving force here was maintaining that look of transparency of the glass going down to the building. So we went back and forth several times, brought it to you several times, and I was even absent from the very last meeting, so but even then, this is where we landed as a compromise for the design.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments? Ms. Solomon? Oh. Student rep? Who's thinking about his AP tomorrow and needs to leave now? Thank you so much. We really appreciate your commitment, and good luck tomorrow. I promised him I'd tell him at 8:30 that he needed to dismiss himself, so. Impressive, Ishan. Thank you. Okay, we have one more slide, right? Or two more slides?
Take care of the prize.
So the project, is being bid with multiple contracts. State requires a minimum of 4 prime contracts: general, plumbing, HVAC, electrical. We've already bid out the temporary HVAC and the demolition and playground project. We are planning on breaking the rest of the project up into a few more packages. General construction, roofing, as you may recall, we're planning on purchasing that through a purchasing network to ensure that we get the system and the contractor that's going to provide the best quality roof possible, and still get a good price on it. Mechanical being your HVAC systems, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, and kitchen equipment. So the list of proposed prime contracts. We would manage all those for you. Would receive bids, separate bids for each one of those, have to award each one of those contracts, and then we would manage all those contracts on your behalf.
So basically what that means in June, when we ask to solicit bids, we'll be asking to solicit the 6 different bids. So we'll have basically one advertisement that encompasses all 6 bids. But then on bid day, it'll be a lengthy process. We'll be opening bids from 6 different prime contractors. And then we'll have to, then in August, when we go for board approval to award contracts, we'll have to award each and every one of those contracts.
Oh, I was not aware of that. Okay, so we'll be awarding 6 contracts.
Yes.
And they will, each needs to be to the lowest responsible bidder.
Yes, correct.
There's 7 showing.
Well, so the roofing is what we call an owner supply contract. Yeah, so that's how.
That we
Ye- Right, correct. So when we look at the alternates, they're broken out by primes. We don't have any kitchen alternates or any fire protection alternates, but we do have electrical alternates, or I have to go back to the list. But we have, like, some of them fall under general contracting, some of them fall under mechanical. So the alternates will then correspond with the different primes, how we have it set up and things like that, so.
There'll be a lot to evaluate when we get these bids in.
Let's just hope we can go out in a few more weeks, right? I think that's what we say we need to see. We need to get this done, get this moving, so hopefully Monday goes well.
We anticipate Monday at the Township for final Board of Commissioners approval. We'll go as planned with approval. So our approval on Monday, and as Walt talked earlier with the state and Conservation District, our approval with the Township will, they'll give us approval contingent on we're getting those approvals, right? So they also know that it's a lengthy process, so.
Any other questions?
No questions, but I will say I feel more stable and in control of the project now. Lon and I, at least, are relatively new, so there's a time to get up to speed. But I think the last couple of meetings have been a little bit unclear, but I feel much better about it than the last few meetings. So thank you.
Repetition's a good thing, it's a lot to take in. So I think the idea that we came back and reviewed this again, I think it helps me too. So it's not just you, DJ.
It also helps us refine our message so that
Yes,
we're
yes.
clearer in what we say. Sometimes we aren't as clear as we
Yeah,
should be.
we appreciate
So-
that.
I'd also say that the visuals are really helpful also.
Yes, yes.
Very important.
Yeah.
And if we can, I don't think anything would change, but if we see the samples, that might reinforce.
they're-
Oh, you
they're
have them here?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Not the
Yeah.
samples of the glass. I think
Not the
I think
glass.
the corner for some board members is causing, just the hiccup or not a hiccup, I should say, just questions. What does it look like? It's not something that we can easily visualize. So I think having that at the next meeting would be really helpful.
Sure.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Okay.
I think we can move on. New business? Any new business, Mr. Morris?
No, not at this time.
All right, public comment? Seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, nice, Liz.
Yeah, so that, I think. Thank you, Lydia. Good night.